G'day everyone and welcome to Holsworthy Live. We're going to be talking today about bias in the media and how you can best protect yourself against it. That's always how they start any news story from now on, I reckon, is always just like, there's a pesticide in your garden that could be killing your kids. And then they get like some nutritionist on that goes, I don't know why I'm here, I'm a nutritionist.
Unrelated.
Yeah, so I think the first one that we're going to be talking to, so I'll just go through 3 points. Well, actually, let's just go through a general breakdown of it, right? Which is that you grew up, as did I, we all did, with the impression that the media is there to act as a check on power, that it's there as a way of just, keeping them honest. That's total bullshit. I know everybody, you go, yeah, tell me something I don't know, but trust me, I don't think everybody functions like that. You just, every now and then you hear some cliche like, don't believe everything you read in the papers, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh yeah, I suppose it would be good to keep a critical mind, and then you just go back straight to it going, what? Sam Destiari took money off the Chinese? You go straight into it again, right? Because it's got that position of authority and they constantly advertise themselves and give themselves props for being the truth tellers. Total shit. Best example, I reckon, is that how every time you ever talk to any 40-year-old about the ABC, and if you say the slightest slant against it, they'll just go, the ABC is what's kept this country going for the last since World War II. Well, it's not a very good strike rate, is it? Since World War II, the Liberal Party's been in power 70% of the time. If that was keeping a check on power, I can guarantee you the Liberal Party would not be in 2/3.
Wait, I don't think
they'd ever be in. They don't represent the interests of the general public. It's clearly just a couple of corporations that they're going for, and then they just say like, oh, because we're taxpayer funded, so we're working for you. No, they're not. They're taxpayer funded and they're putting it into their own pockets to CEOs that used to work for the dreaded Rupert Murdoch, which I don't know why I'm putting it in that. He is just the dreaded Rupert Murdoch.
You should be with a straight face, dreaded Rupert Murdoch. So what's the whole rant about?
Well, the first one, I guess, is like, I already discussed this on the podcast, but I just need to go through this again, right? This is why unions are dying. And then every now and then, you see the ABC going in and just doing something about like, oh, they used to do so much good in the 30s. It's a shame that they're declining in membership now. Because of you fucks. It's because of you. I remember, because I was really paying attention to the Royal Commission coverage of how the unions were being portrayed. Never forget this. The ABC broke that story. You would expect that is the work of the Australian, that they'd just be like, possible union corruption.
You wouldn't expect the ABC to be cracking that story.
And in cahoots with the Sydney Morning Herald, which is always, every time you're on the net and you see someone who reads Rupert Murdoch, they go, look at this lefty reading the fucking Sydney Morning Herald. What, the newspaper that thought, yeah, Tony Abbott, he's the good Prime Minister, we'll back this one. They backed Tony Abbott in 2013. And then you read all of their media coverage when it came to the 2016 election under Malcolm Turnbull, and they go, well, the electorate just isn't angry enough. Yeah, because you're not fucking writing anything that he's doing that's bad. You're not writing that he's reinstituted, putting back in the ABCC, which we know will kill hundreds of construction workers. It's basically like, it's just willful manslaughter on a mass scale that they're introducing, and then they just go in there and go, oh yeah, well, it might increase productivity. By who? Because Malcolm Turnbull said it would? That's the other thing that you saw. Like, you saw Lise Sales when she was interviewing Malcolm Turnbull on reintroducing the ABCC. Remember, just signing the death warrant for hundreds of construction workers in this country. And then Malcolm Turnbull goes, well, Lee, it'll increase it by 20%. And then she goes, you're probably right, Malcolm. Anyway, next question. The big bad Lise Sales always gives that fucker free pass. This is the test that I put on the podcast that I did with my mum last night, right? And then after that, because she understands that the ABC has gone downhill, but she didn't understand it was this bad until she said, all right, how about we watch an episode of the 7:30 Report? And you can do this with your friends. It's a really fun activity. Yeah. One of you pretend that you're Bill Shorten, the other one pretend that you're Malcolm Turnbull, and you tick off and write down every point that you think that person would agree with it. They'd be like, yep, thank you very much, well said, Lee. At the end of it, because obviously this was the night, a story about how the Royal Commission did so much to uncover the underbelly of Sydney, which is total crap. It was the aim of the Royal Commission was just hundreds of millions of dollars of negative PR against the unions so that their membership continues to decline because everyone just goes, bloody corrupt bonkies, that's all they are. When if you look at the Royal Commission, lots of times it was just the judge just sitting there, who, by the way, he said, like, he was clearly gunning for the Liberal Party from the very beginning. He used to go to Liberal Party fundraisers, and he's supposed to be this impartial judge.
Right. I remember
Dyson.
That was a big controversy, right? As soon as that happened, who cracked that story? That the same judge went to Liberal Party functions.
Probably the ABC. I don't know, but you know what? Actually, I bet you if you look into it, it was probably the Guardian, or it was the unions that were going, look at this, and then eventually journalists were like, okay, fine. I grew a nut today.
Someone had to call it out at that point.
Surely, right? And then you know what happened after that? It turns out he can be the judge. He himself judges on whether or not he's biased.
Yes, that's right. Wow, I wonder what the decision would be for that.
I know. I can't believe that anybody was sitting there going, "No, this could work out. He could just fire." No, what a surprise, man! He must have. Yeah, I guess that's why he's a judge.
Nobody can judge my character better than myself. It's like clearly someone from the 50s.
I'm more proficient on this than you do, alright? I'm a professional judge. So that's what happened at the beginning of it, right? And then, so obviously it's a sham mock trial, like it's just it's a witch hunt. Clearly set up for that, $45 million of your taxpayer money designed just to attack the main opponents of the Liberal Party, splay their name out for months on end where they just constant headlines of, are you corrupt? Are you corrupt? I'm just asking questions. Why aren't you asking that about the banks? Well, because they're a sponsor of our paper. None of that shit. And then the ABC, the same thing where they go, oh, we'd love to. It's just our hands are tied. It's so tough because Tony Abbott. They say this shit to me all the time when like the camera mics are off and shit like that. They go, oh, it's so difficult. Tony Abbott's just, we've got to be nice to him while he's here. You don't understand how tough it is. Fuck you. Fucking retire right now. You fucking shills. And they have the fucking audacity to go after me because I fucking accepted money for one fucking video about getting kids to enroll, and they sit there being like, you're funded by the unions, aren't you? And then, as soon as the cameras are off, good on you, you're doing a real good difference. I'm backing you. And as soon as they're like, yeah, that's how they fucking relate to me every time I go. So every time now that they ring me up, I'm just like, oh, I'd love to be on your show. I'm just so busy at the moment. And just click back onto YouTube and beginning of Arthur with that every day when you're walking down. Just keep watching that.
Yeah, well, I think I've clearly ruined my chances of becoming Wally Dully's replacement on The Project or anything on ABC.
Yeah, because we're getting to that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how The Project's just total shit in a second. But man, as if this guy shouldn't have come on. As we were just saying, yeah, you're right. He's too good for Cenk Uygur. Put this guy interviewing Nikki Webster. That's what he should be like.
I think so. Jordan's just been reading up on media biases for like about, I don't know, a month straight now.
Yeah.
Like an obsessive Immanuel Kant, and yeah, it just manifested with this rant. It's pretty effective though. Like I think people would listen to this with full attention.
Because it's just true. Go back and look at it. Just look at what they're covering. They, on purpose. Okay, for instance, like on that 7:30 report thing, the whole like she gets on 3 crossbenchers. It was Jackie Lambie, Nick Xenophon, and that creepy little elf goblin that Pauline Hanson puts next to herself. Just like an evil elf, and she's Santa Claus. Whatever that guy's name, Malcolm Roberts. And they're just sitting there and they're talking about the Liberal Party wants to cut the business corporate tax from 30% to 25%. And you guys are making it tough. Don't you think that's a bit unfair? They were elected on that promise. No, they fucking weren't. I can guarantee you 99% of the population wouldn't know that the Liberal Party was cutting business taxes. They wouldn't, and 99.9% of them wouldn't know what the ramifications of that are. They just go like, oh, it'd create jobs, and they go, oh, okay. They have no idea what that would do to the economy.
Dude, I feel like 80% of the Australian public doesn't know anyone but Malcolm Turnbull and Bill Shorten. Like,
no, I reckon 45% would know who Bill Shorten is.
No,
80% would know who Malcolm Turnbull is.
Yeah, but those two. Like, if you ask them who is your premier, yeah. I don't think a lot of people would We actually...
And I bet the 20% of them would be like, isn't Bill Shorten a communist?
Yeah.
Surely. And so she sits there being like, well, they were democratically elected. No, they weren't. Malcolm Turnbull was elected because he had 3 times the budget of the Labour Party. And so he was just able to splay that shit on television, and then just like how people buy Colgate, they go, oh yeah, this got jobs and growth. They go out and vote for him. That's the reason why that guy's Prime Minister. There's nothing democratic about it. Money talks. That's all that is. And then you shut the fuck up and didn't say anything bad about like what his policies mean, and you're sitting there defending his policy of cutting business tax. We're talking about a time in Australia where there's been what was the stats that you were saying? It was like record profits.
Yeah, so
for businesses.
Profits continue to rise, quadruple. In fact, this year has been the best year, like the year before. For private money, for private savings, that does not mean that that's being actually given to people. So we still have had about 2% wage increase in like the last decade. But it's not because there's no money. Money is just being concentrated in one location rather than being shared out.
Right? And then their discussion wasn't should corporate taxes be cut. It was how much should we cut them by. That's your impartial ABC. I mean, yeah, like they are technically non-biased, but this is what we've been discussing more and more. That's a crock out. Like the thing is about like framing the discussion, and they completely exclude everything. Every time I'm ever on state-run or commercial television, or have had anything to do with their papers or radio or something like that, I talk about this in the video that's coming up, but they tell me either what I can and can't talk about before air. So think about how controlled that is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just a guy that likes the Labour Party and Clover Moore and the Greens, you know? Like, parliamentary parties.
Yeah, because what they often do is that there's assumptions that are always made when it comes to any mainstream media, and that includes the ABC. So though the discussion will be within a parameter.
Yeah.
And so like, if they're talking about corporate tax, the discussion would be if the corporate tax how much we should cut corporate tax, instead of the question of should we even cut corporate tax?
Exactly.
Or should we raise corporate tax?
As if everybody there, like, they've just gone off from watching a current affair where it goes, what's better, Woolies lasagna or Coles lasagna? That these people already have these economic assumptions in their mind that, oh yeah, obviously corporate taxes should be cut. Yeah. Just going straight into 7:34. Thank you very much for that, Tracy Grimshaw. Now on to you, Lee. Tell us about this. There's no way. There's no way they're up to speed with what even a corporate tax means.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, sorry. Anyway, then we go on to what happens with this, with the controlling of the frame, right? So the classic example that's always thrown around, but it's such a good example of it, is climate change. How they put a climate skeptic next to a climate scientist, and then it looks like there's still a debate. It's like when they still like you know, they bring Sam Harris out to like a Christian university and then get him to debate a creationist.
Yeah, Fox News is doing the same thing. Actually, I would rather see Fox News debate both of them are climate skeptics, but one believes that humans aren't contributing to it at all. Another believes it's an asteroid that's actually... I want to see that debate on Fox News.
Preemptive eat stream.
I've had it enough with climate skeptic and climate scientist. Battle it off. Who won? It's a draw.
Every time! Of course it's a fucking draw, because it's 1-on-1. But that's not what it should be. There should be 99 climate scientists there.
Yeah.
No, there should be 999 climate scientists there and one climate skeptic, and then you tell me who you think is right, because that's the reality of the situation. It's the same with penalty cuts, how they framed the debate as Bill Shorten says it's going to hurt 700,000 people, but Malcolm Turnbull says it's Bill Shorten's fault. Okay? No mentioning at all that they stacked the Fair Work Commission with a bunch of Liberal Party goons, so it's not like, so it's not an independent commission. Never was an independent commission. Obviously it was packed with unionists, but it should be packed with unionists because they're going to protect penalty rates. Obviously people from the corporate sector are going to be like, oh, well, why do you need that? You don't go to church anymore. Because I need to eat. Yeah, but like, you know, now when you die, like, you just think nothing happened, so it doesn't matter at the end of the day when you die, it's going to be the same result. That's how the debate was played out in the ABC, that they were just like, well, I guess they both got good points then. No, they don't. The Liberal Party just has spin. There is nothing substantive about their argument. Their argument is, you don't go to church much anymore, by the way, it's Bill Shorten's fault. That is not the fucking reality of the situation at all. He tried to pass through legislation and a bunch of submissions saying, please do not cut penalty rates, I can't do anything, I'm in opposition at the moment, while the Liberal Party, while Malcolm Turnbull was out for years just being like, well, I think that Sunday penalty rates are historical, we should just get rid of them, they're old hat.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the situation. Never mentioned on the ABC.
Unfortunately, stop tweeting Q&A. Enough is boycotting. I think
Stop asking questions to the Q&A. Stop tweeting it. Just sit there and be snarky.
Yeah, that's right. Stop even watching it. Stop going to it. I want to see those chairs empty. I want them to think of questions. They have to think of the questions themselves.
Yeah, I want to see one homeless guy sleeping there. Right, that's their audience.
Yeah. And then let's see those champagne liberals. What did they kick him out or give him food? That would be the ultimate test. Anyway, yeah.
And then you see on top of this now, right, the new flavour of the month, which is what we were discussing recently. It was actually Christo that came up with this. He's my social media guy. I was thinking about it, right? Why is there this current, like, SJW bullshit that is just rife throughout the media of just, like, everyone in Australia is a racist and a sexist, except for us, we're brilliant people in the media, us, we're the ones with morals, that we sit there and fucking highlight some guy that goes, why are you wearing a burqa? As if that's, like, the biggest fucking problem in the country. Like, when the fucking planet is melting, why are you wearing a burqa? Yeah, we called him out from the safety of our air-conditioned offices when that happened somewhere in Lakemba. We went, tisk, tisk.
Yeah.
Aren't we great? Also, we're addicted to coke. Anyway.
Both 2 times that woman. There's like, how many people wear burqa in Australia anyways? Why is that? Someone do the statistics. I bet it's like 0.001.
Yeah, right? Like, basically just creating boogeymen. It's like the modern day version of communism, terrorists. If you look at the statistics, Australia is actually, and you can see it just rife, you yourself probably have it, right? You just went to school with a bunch of people from different ethnic backgrounds, that you had women in your life, there's not really that much of a problem, right? It might exist to a certain extent, massively over-exaggerated, to the point that, as I'm pointing out in the video, right, 1 million articles about female AFL being televised. Clover Moore, by the way, if you're going to go down the whole feminist rant, you did fucking nothing while Clover Moore, the independently elected mayor of Sydney, and she does a fucking brilliant job. She's in 4 times in a row. The last time, as I pointed out in one of my previous videos, Mike Baird just came out and said, yeah, we're just going to introduce an oligarchy. If you're rich, you get 2 votes. If you're poor, you get 1 vote. And they didn't say shit. The mainstream media said nothing. For every, as I said in the previous video, for every 1 article there was about that, there was 500 about, isn't it great that women could go is on TV now? This is the state of the media, and then they get to sit there and say that they're like the guardians of this country. They sat there and watched democracy burn. They watched that happen. They knew it was happening, and they didn't say shit. And it's the same with the unions, right? They let them take the fucking fall, and then they go, yeah, it doesn't matter because it's like really hard for us to keep our jobs here. You're on $500,000 a year. Just fuck off and do like a little university circuit on like why journalism matters. Just do that. Get off TV. You're not helping the situation at all. You're dumbing down the debate on purpose. You're making it stupid. Like, so like, when it came to that, with the union corruption, right? So, months and months on end of just like, possible union corruption. Audiences have been primed for 50 years now, mostly thanks to Rupert Murdoch, and now the ABC's just piled onto it, good on them, aren't they heroes? Just attacking unions consistently, saying that they're a bunch of corrupt bikies. It comes out in the Royal Commission that, actually, the vast majority of cases of bikies and criminal behaviours actually came from construction companies, not unions, but every time they started talking and saying, oh yeah, I know that bikie, he works with Multiplex, I go, no, got anything to do with the CFMEU? No, okay, well, next witness. That happened heaps, throughout the entire thing. At the far end of it, after 6 months, it came out that there was 1 criminal conviction in the entire union movement. We're talking maybe 50 to 100 union. I don't even know how many union organisations there are in Australia, but we're talking we're talking a fuckload of people, making them probably the least corrupt organisation on the. Like if you did a royal commission into banks, I can guarantee more than one motherfucker's going to jail.
Yes, you would assume that as the normal
At the
zero.
norm, right? At the norm. It's at least sport. I bet you if you did one into sport, lot of coke addicts, lot of steroid guys into jail. That's the end of the story there. There was one. You know how many articles there was after 6 months of just constant attacking of the unions? How many articles there was against it? One. From the Australian, where they said, yeah, well, probably more should have gone to jail. Just saying.
At least they brought it to attention.
And that was them just like, you know, like that isn't that fucking brave of the mainstream media to sit there and just like, when they're clearly proven wrong, to just like sit there and just be like, well, you know, I don't know, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Anyway, not admit it. Not admit that they were wrong.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't the aim. They actually completed their aim. Their aim was to discredit the union movement so that membership declined. And the reason they wanted to do that is... Sorry, I'm trying to say something crazy. But the reason they wanted to do that is because in that time, which again, look it up, there's something like 280,000 articles about union corruption. There is 280 about the fact that the CFMEU stopped the Liberal Party from pushing through the China Free Trade Agreement, which would have instantly flooded the market with cheap Chinese labour. That agreement said that the Chinese companies could import Chinese workers, pay them Chinese wages in Australia. So why the fuck would you pay Australian workers when you can pay one like $10? Yes. And just be like, well, a potato sack is sort of a sleeping bag. You can have that. That's your accommodation.
Uncomfortable sleeping bag.
Don't you reckon?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, not reported at all, that this CFMEU, the ones that you've been painting as a bunch of bikies, that has been proven that they're not. There was one. They've been proven. And then they still say at the end of all of this, the guys that saved probably... like it would be probably a conservative estimate to say hundreds of thousands of jobs. There's a lot of manual labour that could have gone overnight as a result of that inclusion. They saved that. Project. No mentioning of that at all. Still just that circulation in your mind that they're corrupt. Why is that? Because they're a proponent, they're against big business greed, and that's why they get this kind of treatment from the media establishment.
What we're trying to say essentially is that ABC and most mainstream media tends to focus on things that shouldn't be considered that important. They could be news stories, but they're missing out on shit that actually matters. So
and it's
prioritize,
purposeful.
Please. Yeah, dude.
And it's a deliberate attempt.
It's a deliberate attempt to pass their agenda, and also the reality that they've created. Nobody actually moves. Nobody thinks out of the box. So everyone's in the box.
That's it. That's the other thing that's crazy. When you talk to people in the ABC, there's so many people that constantly come up to me and just be like, you should have your own ABC show on the ABC. People that work in the ABC. And then I'm like, okay, why don't you go talk to your superiors about that? And then they come back and they go, oh, yeah, actually, yeah, it's probably like, yeah, it's a bit risky and stuff like that. Why? Because I say the word fuck? That's not the reason why. There's a lot of people that are saying some pretty obscene shit on commercial television, right?
True. I
never flash my dick. When I get desperate for ratings, I will do that, but not now.
I'm pretty sure you have, though.
Probably. So that's almost certainly a lie.
On that exceptional note of flashing dick, I think we will bid you farewell for this one.
Thank you. But give us money. See you later.
Yes, please.
Donate to Patreon.